What is one thing you can do this week to have a healthier marriage? We're going to talk about that today on Brett Ray's Tuesday Tiny Tips. Well, I can easily say if you've been around the Tuesday Tiny Tips for any period of time, you have heard the names Dave and Ann Wilson. Dave and Ann were the mentors who did our life-changing premarital counseling back in 1988. Carol and I have mentored engaged and married couples for the last 20 years, and I would wager to say that we have handed down what we learned from Dave and Ann to every single couple we have ever met with. Dave and Ann, along with Bob Lapine, are now the radio hosts of Family Life Today and have millions of listeners tuning in each week to listen to their wisdom and guidance. Good Morning America recently interviewed Dave and Ann about something that Christian marriage experts are buzzing about, their new book, Vertical Marriage. If you're going to invest in one marriage book this year to grow your marriage, this is the one I am highly recommending, and I get no kickbacks. I love what Dr. Tim Kimmel, founder and CEO of Family Matters, writes in his promo about the book, Vertical Marriage. He says if your marriage isn't vertical, then it's just a matter of time before your relationship will pay the price. Or you could read this book and transform your marriage into a page-turning, smoking hot, this is more like it love story. It's your call. All right, gang, I'd love to see you invest in your marriage in a huge way this week by picking up a copy of Dave and Ann Wilson's new book, Vertical Marriage, at daveandannwilson.com. All right, guys, that's the tip. Now, I've got something a little special for you this week. In just a few minutes, I'm going to get on the phone and make a phone call to Dave Wilson, get him on the line, and I'm going to ask him this question. Dave, what is one thing that we can work on today? What would be your number one thing that we can work on today to have a healthy marriage relationship? All right, let's get Dave on the line.
Hello.
Hey, Dave, how's Mr. Just Got Back from Brazil doing?
I'm readjusting to the warmer climate here. I'm kidding. Brazil was warmer even though it's their winter, but their winter is 75 to 80 degrees. It was pretty nice.
Nice. You were there on a marriage deal, right? What were you guys doing there?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Our church, Kensington, has a partnership with a few church planners over there, a guy named Pastor Ricardo, and he has started all these churches all over the country. So he put together a convention or a pastors conference, and he actually has 2,000 pastors come to a convention hall.
Oh my goodness!
And he, they teach on a lot of different things, but one of the things he's seen is the marriages over there are really struggling, and especially the marriages in ministry are struggling. So we taught about marriage to mostly pastors who will then go take those vertical marriage truths to their churches. So it was really a pretty cool week.
That's awesome. Was there one highlight in particular that you had?
The highlight was probably grabbing my guitar to try and connect with these Brazilians and finding out that they love the Beatles. They love the Beatles. I started playing, I didn't expect this, but I thought, hey, here's a great love song from the past, and I started playing, Oh Yeah, I Tell You Something, and they started clapping to the beat.
Oh, my goodness.
without any prompting. I was like, what is happening right now? But that was
great.
Pretty cool. But really the biggest highlight was just having couples come up and saying, their marriage is in trouble, and they recommitted to following Jesus as the center of their marriage, and they're on a course for healing. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, my goodness. The impact that's going to have as they go back to their congregations and their folks is just, it's just going to multiply and multiply and multiply. That's just awesome. All right, so here's my big question for you for today. So you have been a respected voice for literally decades because you're old. Now concerning marriage and family. And concerning marriage and family, you are a respected voice. And so I wanted to have you answer this question for our viewers and our listeners. If there's one thing that you could say today, maybe your number one thing that we could work on today to have a healthier marriage, what would that be?
Well, I mean, the obvious answer is go vertical or put Jesus at the center. And I don't want to be trite to say, that's what you expect me to say from somebody who wrote a book called Vertical Marriage.
Right.
I mean, that whole idea is go vertical. But I do really think, and it's been true in my own marriage, that we often talk about, having God as the center of our marriage, and yet we really don't often do much practically to make that a reality. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that, come to my mind, like how to handle conflict, how to step into forgiveness with your spouse, which is a daily, almost, weekly thing. But I honestly think the best thing a couple could do to serve one another, and that's a big word right there, because God calls us to serve one another. It's not about my needs being met. It's about me laying down my life to serve my spouse, and hopefully Ann feels the same way. But I really think the most practical thing that Ann and I have done, and I mean, we've literally talked to thousands of couples in the last 10 years that have done this one thing, and it's radically changed their marriage. It's pray together. Pray together on a daily basis. And it could mean 5 minutes. It could take 1 minute. It could obviously be, longer than that if you wanted to. But if a couple just chose before they got in bed or the first thing in the morning, or it doesn't matter when, but to just hold each other's hand and go vertical together. So you've got the horizontal piece of, you're doing this with your spouse, but then you're going to God, not just alone, but together, and you pray a short prayer together. And it could be this short. It could be literally, God help. And, often people don't think that's a prayer, but that's a real prayer that Jesus is running to answer. He loves that prayer. And it could be longer than that. I mean, Ann and I have gotten on our knees many times. We have a practice now. We get on our knees pretty much every night before we go to bed, and we just pray about things in the day and about our marriage and about our kids and about now our grandkids and our ministry and different things. That one practice has literally changed our marriage, and we've heard the same thing from hundreds of other couples. So that would be my one big thing. It's like, have the courage to, say to your spouse today or tonight, let's pray together. And if your husband doesn't want to, or your wife doesn't want to, then you just pray. That's okay. There have been many times when Ann's prayed and I haven't. There's times when I pray and she doesn't. But, and again, it takes a couple minutes, and yet it bonds us to God and it bonds us to one another.
Well, here's the impact that you're having on me 30 years after our marriage counseling that we did with you at our pre-marriage counseling. So 30 years ago, so this week, Carol and I had a young couple that wanted Uncle Brett and Aunt Carol to do their premarital counseling. So good friends of ours' kids. And so we told them two things. We told them a lot of things, but one of the big words that we used was to serve one another. That was a touch point for us, was it's about servanthood. And then we told them this, Dave. We said, and we tell couples this all the time: if you'll go 30 days in a row praying with each other, we'll take you out for a big dinner. And we've told it to couples for years. Like, if you can do it, string together 30 days and try to get to a habit. And this couple in particular, they love seafood, and so we said, hey, we'll take you out for a big seafood dinner if you can do it. And it's just our way of saying, see if you can get a habit going here. And I told them, if you blow it, you break it, start over and try to do another 30 days. And so so I didn't know exactly what you were going to say, but I had a feeling it would have to do with vertical marriage, and had a feeling it would have to do with prayer, of course. And the word servanthood was a word that you taught Carol and I in a new way in our marriage. And it's hard. It's not hard for her. She's good at it, but I'm terrible. I'm so self-centered and so selfish, and it's hard for me to do it. She seems to be a lot more natural at it, but it's something we work at all the time. And praying together it's a daily thing for us. I mean, there are days where we miss, but for the most part we don't. And thank you for instilling that in us 30 years ago.
Well, Brett, I've noticed you really are selfish, and I'm just so glad I'm not. So. We're all selfish, man. I know exactly what you're feeling, but man, that's good. I'm glad to hear that you guys are doing that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, thanks for teaching us. I appreciate it. All right, that's all I've got time for, Dave. Thanks so much.
All right, man. Love you, Brett. Thanks.
Love you too. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
All right, that's what I've got for you today. I hope this has been helpful. This is Brett Ray for the Tuesday Tiny Tips. Have a great week.